Okay. My name's Ro, and I moved to Ulva in April of 2025. So I first come to first came to Ulva. Uh, Quite a few years before that. We've been living on Mull for 10 years, and my partner was doing a project over on Ulva, and we came to Ulva, and I just loved it. I just thought it was an actual magical place that just had such a nice feeling. I just felt drawn to it, I guess, is in a way, which sounds a bit airy-fairy, but it's just how I felt. And we always loved Ulva and this side of Mull. There was always something beautiful about it. Although we lived in Tobermory for 10 years, working at a cheese farm up there, I knew we'd end up over this way. I didn't know how, but I knew at some point we'd end up over this way. And we did. So we were fortunate enough to get the opportunity to take on this place on a rent and repair lease, which means we'll never own this building, but we get very reasonable rent. In return, we pay for the repairs. So, yeah, it's an unusual kind of thing to do. But we thought, well, if we repair it, we can save the building, and then maybe we can swing a business, and then we can make a living, and then we can live on Ulva. And so, yeah, here we are, giving that a go. How it's going to play out, I don't know. But it's early days. But so far, so good. Okay, so the day-to-day here has just changed significantly. Up until recently, my partner had decided to turn the renovation into a bit of a television show. So that was really weird for me. So you're operating to, obviously, a whole bunch of different timelines. We were operating to the commitments to the television show, but we were also trying to get the roof done at the same time and get the house rewired and get the plumbing done, get some hot water to the property. And that has only just wrapped up. So this is my second day here of not having to rush or do anything. So I've made some soup. I've made a cup of coffee and I'm just having a lazy day. And it's lovely. I'm going to have to get my bum into gear. What the day-to-day is going to look like. I get up in the morning and I feed pigs and get them all sorted. And then now I'll pick a project. So I think for me, the next thing I'm going to be working on in the house is doors and windows. Because some of the, as you can see, don't have doors. And it's a really big house. And so when you're trying to heat a cavernous space, I think the idea is to get it as small as possible. So yeah, my next project will be working on some doors, sanding, painting, filling, trying to make them look nice, and then trying to make each space easier to heat. Because one of the big things was with the property, the roof's starting to leak over the years, and water ingress was getting in, and then mold was getting in, and then the house was getting damp. So we've solved a lot of those issues, not all of them, but a lot. So my goal is just over winter to keep this place dry. Try and keep it continually drying out. So yeah, see how we go. So shopping could be a bit tricky. If you're very organised, you can do a Tesco order once a week, and that Tesco order can then get dropped off to a delivery mob, and they can bring it over to the ferry terminal, and then you can go pick it up from the ferry and get it up here. We've got to be organised. It's only available one day a week. I'm not that organised. So what we try and do is, if either me and my partner are going off the Isle of Mull, you'll try to do a big shopping oven, fill the freezers, fill the fridge, and then sort of like top up from little grocery stores on Mull. The challenge is that the grocery stores on Mull are quite expensive because it's off an island. So when you're an island off an island, getting your groceries is a little bit trickier, and you're way more picky. Because you've got to carry it all over by boat. So I think I definitely buy less unnecessary things. And some others sucks because sometimes you just might feel like having Indian for dinner, and then you go to pantry and you've got no Indian for dinner and you can't get off the island. It's now night time. And so I think what I do like, and sometimes it's a challenge, isn't it? Convenience. We got so used to convenience to be able to get anything whenever you wanted, pretty much, around the clock. And coming over here, it's been a bit of a reset. You're just like, oh no, actually, I don't have that convenience. So then you get maybe a bit more, not creative, just a bit more realistic. So like, for example, I had some ham hocks. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a ham hock soup, but I'm going to throw in all the veggies that are turning, and because you don't want to waste food, and you don't want to waste food anyway, but especially you don't want to waste food when it's such effort to get it. Just more of a reminder. I think you're a bit more aware and considered when you live on an island off an island. Barry and Rory lived on the island for a very long time, well before we turned up, well before the charity bought the island. So I think there are a couple of grandfather rules that apply to those two, and rightly so. But for the rest of us, we're very much aware that cars are not an option. So you get yourself a little buggy, which is super helpful and super handy. I'm going to have to get more mechanically minded. My buggy broke down and it was crippling. All of a sudden, you had to carry all your groceries by hand up to here, or you had to carry all the materials up here, or when trades needed tools and stuff, that all had to be carried up by hand, which is absolutely not the end of the world. It's just another layer of complexity. So yeah, we've all got little buggies that we zip around on, and I am hoping to get a little bit more mechanically minded, so that when it does break down, I'll be able to repair it myself. And I think it's just resilience and resourcefulness. I think when you live in an island, you end up picking up additional skills like that, because again, the convenience or the luxury of just having a mechanic that you can just call, drop your car off to, no, that doesn't exist here. We'd have to ask the fish farm, would they mind bringing their barge over? And then maybe I'll ask Phil if he could drag my buggy down to the slipway and then drag it onto the fish farm and then drag it off on the other side and then somehow get from there to a McKay. So no, you just become resourceful, I think. Hopefully, I'll become more resourceful. Yeah, you're more connected to your environment, I think. And I think that's a big one, like in a city. And I lived in a city for years. When I did move to the city, I grew up in a small regional town, and then I moved to the city, and I remember thinking, I am never going back to a quiet place ever again. Like, I'll always live in a city forever. And then you live in a city, it's great. And if you utilize the city, like maybe, what I miss maybe is like, going to gigs or going to galleries or going to lots of art and culture. But when you stop using those things, or you stop enjoying those things, or you're not making the most of them anymore, you're just living in this, felt like quite an isolated environment that I wasn't connected to, even though you're in a metropolis surrounded by heaps of people. Like there were places where I didn't know my neighbours, which was really strange. Growing up in the countryside, you did know your neighbours, and all of a sudden you're in a city and your neighbours are literally right there and right there. And you just never got to know them. They almost were suspicious if you were too friendly. I think it could be a good thing. It can be a good lesson, because not everyone likes everyone. And that's just how the world is. It's how people is. It's how society is. It's like, not everyone likes me. I don't like everyone. And, but in a city, I feel like you can be complacent about it, because you can be quite anonymous. Where here, just because I don't agree with some of the things people say or do, doesn't mean that you can't be respectful and kind and compassionate and considerate. You just don't agree on some things. That's all right. I think we live in a time now, or it feels like we do, where like someone's always got to be right and someone's got to be wrong. There's like less critical thinking. I remember I feel like back when I was younger, you might listen to a debate or something, and it wasn't about destroying the other person. It was about both parties putting out information, and then you consuming that information and making an informed decision for yourself. Yeah, there was more grey. I feel like there's less grey now. It's like, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's just sort of, I think it's kind of sad that you don't have that. What is my least favourite thing? I know what it's going to be. Oil. So, at the moment, we don't have, there's an old boiler, it's an oil boiler, and that was used to heat the house. It's not something we're going to have forever, but because it still works, and we don't have the money to replace it yet or upgrade with renewables, all the oil has to be carried over So that's at 25 litre drums. And so we're just trying to get the boiler line up and running again, and the radiators should be coming, touch wood, any day now. I'm not looking forward to lugging all the oil over. It just seems it's so unnecessary, but I can't at the moment. We just can't get around it. I think if we can get some renewables in place, and then maybe upgrade some of the systems in the future, we'll be able to do away with that. But yeah, bringing 1,000 litres of oil, well, I think it's a 2,500 litre tank over 20 litres at a time, is just, it'll be fine. But that I'm not looking forward to. That's probably going to be my least favourite thing. Everything else I quite enjoy. Yeah, everything else is an adventure. Yeah, so we want to do like a solar discovery and just see what we can do. It's a bit tricky because there's a list of buildings, so putting them on the roof is a little bit harder. But then we might be able to put them in the back field, but then the farmer's got his cattle out there. And it's something we've been thinking about, but it's something we just haven't been able to sink our teeth into yet. We've just been sort of focusing on other parts of the restoration. But I would love solar. Yeah, if we can get, large nail renewables, that'd be great. Fingers crossed for the future. Until then, I'm going to be lugging oil. I'll get strong, so that's a win. My most favorite thing, living on an island, being surrounded by the sea. I love the sea. I've always loved the sea. I've always felt connected to water, even in Australia. Whether it's a lake, a river, a dam, an ocean, a bay, I have to, in an ideal world, have water very close by. It just makes me feel calm, and there's something beautiful about the sea and the seaside and the ocean and Mother Nature. And yes, I think that's my favourite thing, being surrounded by water. Yeah, easy. For me, it's food. It's cuisine. So if I go onto the mainland, as soon as I get to Glasgow, I'll probably get some sushi pretty quick. Like, I miss having access to multiculturalism and yummy food. There's in particular Asian food. I think because maybe Australia's closest neighbour is Asia. So there's a massive Asian influence in Australia, modern Australian cuisine. And I sort of miss that being up here. So yeah, if I go to Glasgow, I'll be eating at like a Cantonese restaurant. I'll be eating at a Sri Lankan restaurant. I'll be looking at some sushi. That's what I miss the most. I could probably learn, and I probably will learn, so I have to not be as lazy. But yeah, it's food for me. That's what it is. Yeah, not the big, just food. This year didn't feel like much at all. I've just come back, so basically we finished filming here last week, and my partner is doing some more filming, but on a different project. And so we just left and went to Glasgow, and it was great. It was just like eating lots of yummy food and relaxing. But that doesn't happen very often. I would say almost in summer you probably wouldn't get to Glasgow at all because you're busy. You're making hay while the sun shines. So yeah, I would, in an ideal world, I'd like to get there every sort of 6 weeks or something, just to do a shop and get bits and bobs. And but the reality is, I'd say every 3 months maybe might get to Glasgow, or Edinburgh. But yeah, I'm gonna try and, I don't know, when we were doing this project, we started doing this. It was so all-consuming, and trying to get everything done and try and get it in a good place before the winter came. I couldn't justify going away to Glasgow. I should be staying here. When actually I was probably getting quite tired and a little bit stressed and a little bit of burnout. Probably a week in Glasgow would have done me great. But yeah, so every couple of months we can probably get away. If you're a little bit more organised, maybe every month. But by the time you leave here, like for example, when I came back from Glasgow, I left at 8 o'clock in the morning, Glasgow, and I got back to the house here, and everything kind of lined up. 4 p.m. So it's a day trip, even though it's only a couple hours away from Orbit, because you're an island, and then you've got ferries and all of a sudden it's like a day to get to Glasgow, and then maybe you spend the night, and then the day to come back. So it's hard to rationalise unless you've got the time to maybe enjoy a few days down there. Otherwise, it's an air dash. But I know Rory's wife, Rebecca, she's got it worked out. She's like bang, 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 up and down in a day. She can do it. If you have to, yeah. It's but it's all right. I don't mind. When I live on Ulva, all of a sudden, Mull feels really big. So when you go to Tobermory, that almost feels like you're going to a city, even though it's a tiny village. But it's got an Indian restaurant, so yeah, it's got a nice kids place. So yeah, that's a really interesting one that I don't think I never really stopped to consider. Would I miss people? I am both a mix of, like, I'm definitely an extrovert. I definitely get energy from people. In the same breath, I can be quite shy and quite anxious. So sometimes I don't want to be around people. But I think what I've noticed is maybe not having physical solid pals as close as maybe I was used to. I think because I'm still getting to know the members of the community, and I know it pretty well, and everyone's great. Everyone's been very kind and supportive. But it's not the same when you don't know, like, a good friend that knows you on a really intimate level. And so I miss kind of maybe having them around where I didn't think I would. Yeah, otherwise I can just quite happily turn into a hermit. That doesn't bother me. But yeah, just having a few close pals around. In summer it's a bit different though, I think, because we get a lot of visitors come to the island, and the days are longer, so you can get off the island later in the day. You can come back later in the day. You know, you could cross the water at 11 o'clock at night, and you could see just fine, and it'll be beautiful. But in winter, you don't sort of have that luxury. So that even tonight, I know there's like a dinner in Tobermory with friends going to. It's like, okay, am I gonna try and get to that dinner and then come back in the evening? But now I know the weather's really bad, so no, I'll probably have to stay in Tobermory. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going to stay in Tobermory, how am I going to get back in the morning? And all of those things, or where am I going to stay? So it just adds a layer of complexity, like of quickly catching up with a pal or quickly dropping in with coffee. But then I'm making new friends here and getting to know people really well. So I think it's going to be sort of like swings and roundabouts. But definitely I think people could, if we hadn't lived on Mull before, because we'd lived on Mull, that's definitely semi sort of like isolated again. Semi-remote. Mull's semi-remote, not semi-isolated. Mull's semi-remote. So like transitioning from Mull to here wasn't too crazy, and we kind of understood the landscape, and, you know, we've got people or friends on this side. But I think if you moved from the mainland to somewhere like this, you may not consider, that it could become very isolating very, very quickly without kind of realising it, or maybe not realising how important your support network or just having your friends and family just a stone's throw away, you know, how that impacts you when that's taken away. And it's something I probably didn't think about. So far so good, but talk to me at the end of winter, like, see how I'm getting on.